Hey there, Leo. How are you doing? So this is the start of the forecast for the next 2 weeks, starting from the 23rd of August. That's with the new moon in Virgo, taking you right the way through to the full moon in Pisces, which is also a total lunar eclipse on the 7th of September. Now, this is a 2 week period with three planetary changes. We've got Venus, Mercury, and Saturn shifting signs. We've also got some very big squares and an opposition and also a T-square, a very powerful T-square on the day of the lunar eclipse. And so what I want to do in this session is to guide you through the planetary picture. I'm not going to go too much in depth with the actual planets themselves, but I'm going to be describing what's landing for you right now in terms of, I see this as the gateway to the eclipse. I mean, we've got the new moon in Virgo. It's the first of two. So between the 23rd of August and the 21st of September, the 2 days of the new moon in Virgo, we've got the two eclipses. And so this is a very, very, very powerful time. So I want to guide you through it as best as possible. This is a time of your sacred vision. The sacredness, I think, is all about the Virgo energy, which is really calling for purity and cleansing, and then also the visionary energy that I think Pisces really encapsulates. So yeah, sacred vision, gateway to the eclipse. It's a pretty big time. If you're new to this channel, by the way, my name's Louisa Tanner-Munson. Hi, welcome aboard. Hope you like it. Now, if you want a deeper dive about the actual moon phase itself and all the little facets of what's coming up in the next 2 weeks, I also recommend that you have a look at the big scoop for this time, and the link to that is in the notes. But anyway, let's get going. I like to use my slides to keep me on track. So you'll see I've broken it down into three questions. This is how I'm preferring to do these forecasts right now. And so the first part of it is with the new moon itself, which is, like I said, a time to purify and get really sacred. And my big question that I'm going to be focusing on is, where in my life am I idealizing or polishing the surface instead of healing the root? Because the Virgo energy can be very on the surface. Virgos are very sort of neat and tidy, and they get everything looking just right. Everything fits for purpose. Like, their handbags clean, their car's clean. It all seems to work very beautifully. But what's really at the root of everything? That's where I want to have a look in terms of the purification. Then we've also got the breakthrough, which I see as occurring around about the 31st of August to the 1st of September. There's a couple of really big things going on around that time. And what you might find useful asking yourself around that time is, what old wounds may flare up, and how can I respond with them to them with compassion rather than compulsion? The wounds rising up. Well, we've got Mercury in a trine to Chiron at that time, and also Saturn retrograding into the sign of Pisces. So that could definitely bring up old stuff for sure. And then the final one, and this is really around the flood of emotions that's likely to come up around the time of the full moon in Pisces, which is the day of the total lunar eclipse. How can I turn a flood of emotions into inspiration instead of overwhelm? I always think these planetary pictures can be read in so many different ways. But you've always got the very sort of like positive top note of it, and you've always got the very sort of negative side to it. And one of the things I notice with full moons, in particular the water signs, in particular Pisces, is that we can just absolutely be picking up on so many emotions from so many different areas, not even knowing exactly where it's coming from. Our discernment is not very high at that moment. We're like very, very open and kind of being buffeted in the waves of emotion. Now, if we can prepare for it and know that this is likely to come up, how can we curate this energy as it's coming in and use it to be creative and inspired? That's what I'm hoping to help you find and connect to with this. And so I really think that this time is where we're clearing the vessel, and that could be your mind, your heart, your body, your mind-body system, your car, your home. So clearing the vessel, could be your voice, your words as well, letting the cracks appear in the breakthrough, and then let them fill up with divine waters. Now, we might need to put in an extra bit where we seal them with sealant, because obviously if we've got cracks, the divine waters are going to flow right through, but you get the gist, I'm sure. So we're clearing, seeing where we need to do a bit of maintenance, and then we're really reveling in what we've created. So I'm going to bring up the two charts, but just before I do that, I just want to say thank you to everybody that supports this channel historically, right now, including all my members who are parts of my community. I've got 2 of them. Thank you so very much. It really, really helps me to do what I do. And I love doing this, so thank you. So these are the 2 charts. We've got the full moon, the new moon chart here, and you'll see the new moon is pointing towards your 2nd house, and then we've got the full moon eclipse here, and you'll see it's highlighting your 8th house. It's very, very deep, a very deep place to have it. In fact, this is reminding me of something, so this is an ascendant forecast based on a whole sign traditional Western charting method, and so I've got 1 sign for every house. But in reality, if you look at your chart and you use, say, Placidus charting, you'll probably find that you've got both Leo and Virgo in your 1st house. And so if you find you've got 2 signs in your 1st house, listen to both signs. You don't have to just listen to Leo. The Virgo will just be as important to you as well. So, listen to them both and get the blended message there. Anyway, so if you've been to this channel before, you'll know I've already spoken quite a lot about this new moon in Virgo. I've also done a separate standalone new moon in Virgo to new moon in Virgo video that I've just released a couple of days ago. It's also got a sign by sign forecast at the end of it, which could be helpful. So I've spoken about it a lot. I do think there's a lot of pressure to make changes. You're getting pressures from strong people in your life, and also this sense of just wanting to break free a little bit. And yet all of these pressures are just kind of honing down into your 2nd house, which encapsulates how you earn money, how wealthy you feel. Do you feel like you've got all the resources you need? How can you refine that? How can you have a new start with your resources? But more importantly, how do you value yourself? This is really speaking of the self-esteem, and doing something amazing with your self-esteem so that you are completely renovated. So when I was talking about the mind-body system being your vessel, you might find with this new moon hitting your 2nd house, and the pressures of Pluto and the pressures of Saturn and also Neptune, that you realize, to have that sense of freedom and to kind of get those people off your back, you want to feel really comfortable in yourself. You really want to feel like you are able to resource your own life. And of course, if you are able to resource your own life, and if you're able to look after yourself, then those powerful people around you, they don't get to tell you what to do. So to me, this almost feels a bit teenagery. This to me is your calling. You're being called into action. You're being called to work harder or smarter. You're being called to raise your game in yourself, to develop a better self-esteem. And in doing so, this is going to give you more choice and more earning possibilities. And of course, when that happens, it's going to be so much easier in your relationships, and you're going to have more time, more money to, flow into the pursuits that you really enjoy, that allow you to have that sense of freedom. So I do think this is a very important time for you. Now, when I look, the moon is going to go all the way around to here. When I look over here to the full moon, the total lunar eclipse, I can see you're going to get a little bit distracted. So you've got these 2 new moons here as bookends of your 2nd house, really encouraging you to earn lots of money and to feel good about it. In fact, to feel so good that you keep going and you don't give up. And yet around the total lunar eclipse, it just feels like there are old situations from old family members, old family situations that you have to attend to that put you off your game, that are kind of knocking you off your perch, that are reminding you of every failure that has happened, and reminding you of how maybe you never like reach their expectations. I think it could take you to quite a dangerous place if you're not prepared for it. I'm sorry to say that, because this is meant to be feel-good astrology, and I'm not trying to bring you down. And I am really mindful of what I say and how that can influence you. I'm not trying to deliberately make your life worse. But what I can see with this full moon in Pisces, is total lunar eclipse, where things really come on in a big way. What I see this is as an opportunity for you to grow, dare I say it, grow some balls, grow bigger balls, not some balls, that implies you don't have any, but some, so like to stabilize yourself in some way, and to feel like you can stand up for yourself. Anywhere where you feel like people are putting you down, are expecting more of you than is reasonable, and then kind of telling you off for it. Anywhere where you feel that sort of sense of blame and anger sort of fired your way, it's gonna, it's going to get quite, it's going to be difficult for you. And so I really see that your main challenge in this next 2 weeks is to develop this sense of peace and equilibrium with what you are already doing right, and what you're already doing beautifully, and what you're already developing. And so if I was in your shoes, and I'm not, but I live with someone actually with Leo rising. I've got quite a few friends with Leo rising, in fact, so I could apply this to quite a few people. What I really see is going on for you at the moment is you're carving out a new niche for yourself. You're carving out a new space for you to be brilliant. For you to feel accomplished, for you to feel like you've got new possibilities after a long time of not believing that you had possibilities. And some of these possibilities are going to quite possibly be the thing that takes you much further in your material life. You know, if you got, if you got a project underway during this time with these 2 new moons in Virgo across your second house, you could really transform your earnings forever. Remember, these are, the first one is a yodid new moon. I don't even know if that's a real word. And the second new moon is a solar eclipse. So when you finish this time, the 21st of September, to me, this is a real kind of thumbs up that you've done the work to kind of patch up any holes, any of these cracks, these cracks I'm talking about. Let the cracks appear, and then fill them in with the divine sealant and then the divine water. This is the thing you're working on right now. This is such a big time for you, really big time. And so your job, if I may be so bold to suggest, is to stay in a place of equilibrium and really stay on course, because around the time of the full moon in Pisces, you may feel that your brilliance, your generosity, your ability to get things done, your ability to be seen as a competent person is pulled into question, and it could really bring up some very ancient wounds. So you're going to need to have your wits about you, if you don't mind me saying. Now, another reason why I say this is because we've got this momentous, gargantuan T-square taking place on the day of the full moon, or coming up to it. So we've got Mars in an opposition to Chiron. And Mars in opposition to Chiron is an interesting one, because it feels like as we start to get busy and to take action and to sort of be inspired, by taking action. In your case, it feels like you're taking action within the local community. It feels like there's something painful coming from far away. Maybe you're reminded of when, because Chiron represents our old insecurities. Maybe you've been reminded of what happens when you reach outside of your usual community and how painful it is. And so to me, it just feels like there's a real need to take action, and yet you don't want to go too far taking action in case you go too far and you get your fingers burnt, to me, and that's quite difficult. And then Jupiter's amplifying both of these from his position in the 12th house. Feels like there's lots of old memories coming to the surface. So I really can't stress enough how important this full moon in Pisces is, because I really think it's going to bring up all the burdened insecurities that you felt for a long, long time. And it's coming up for a damn good clean. And yeah, it's coming up through the 8th house. Now, there are definitely some places where a total lunar eclipse is much more manageable. If I was to rate where the total lunar eclipse occurs, in order of how difficult it is, I would actually say having it here is probably the first or second most difficult place to have it, because it's going to illuminate lots of parts of you that feel slightly awkward, slightly challenged, slightly vulnerable. And so again, when I say it's important to have your wits about you, I really want to skip to this question, in fact, because I want to try and build up as many resources for you as possible. So for instance, this is where I'm really drawn to. How can I turn a flood of emotions and possible guilt trips, historical guilt trips, nasty stuff that came up, you know, in your childhood? How can I turn that flood of emotions and nastiness into something inspiring? Well, I think what's really coming up is you're regaining your sense of control over yourself. What's coming up here is likely to really finally illuminate what you've not been able to see, that you needed to see to be able to take control back. You see, the 8th house is quite a hidden house, as is the 12th. And so often we feel, we get like these sort of sensations like, I know something's not quite right, I can't put my finger on it. I know something's not quite right, I can't put my finger on it. And you're in that place of wondering what the hell is going on, and you can't really move on from it because you just don't know what's gone wrong. You don't know what you've done wrong. You don't know what the other person's feeling. And if you ask them, they're not going to say. And so you don't really have a clear picture. I think this full moon in Pisces is going to give you as clear a picture as you can get. And then anything you don't know isn't worth knowing. In terms of feeling inspired, I would say it's important to really work out what you're trying to achieve at the start of this month. This forecast is just taking you between these 2 weeks. I think it'd be helpful for you to see beyond, from this first new moon to the next new moon, so that's the 21st of September, and beyond that, and beyond that. I think if around the time of the new moon in Virgo, if you could create for yourself some kind of goals, like maybe I want to feel good earning money, I want to become a better receiver, I want to feel I deserve my money, and maybe give yourself some actual quantifiable goals, like I want to prove my new job is the one for me by, I don't know, October. You set your goals, you know what goals you want to set that will feel meaningful for you, not what I'm kind of conjuring up in this forecast. But I think if you can set something that has a longevity and a measurement, then, in this first week, if you keep referring back to your goals and keep using them almost like a divine compass, then as you feel yourself getting pushed around on these total lunar eclipse seas, it's important that you've got your goals in front of you. So you just think, okay, is this pushing me further away or closer? And if it's pushing you further away, it's time for you to just absolutely reel it in and say, okay, this is not something for me to get involved in right now. This is a situation that's trying to get me angry or emotional or to lose my cool. It's really important you don't allow yourself to be pushed off course. And to me, this is one of the challenges. And this is also one of the things that to me is suggesting that you're very, very close to a breakthrough, much closer than you realized, because when we're getting close to a breakthrough, in my experience, and I'm literally just talking for myself, I've seen it mirrored in a few clients, but when I get really close to achieving something that's really valuable, what I notice is I often get a massive challenge right before, just to see if I'm really up to the job, just to see if I've got the determination to see it through or not. And thankfully, mostly I've stayed quite focused, but there are a couple of areas in my life where I back down really, really quick. This is your call. This is your call to not back down and to understand that this is one of, like, if you want to push beyond your earning conundrum here, you can't back down when you're facing this particular challenge. It's important to recognize that you can move beyond this. And of course, the next new moon comes around and you're getting the double new start energy from the new moon. So I do think you're going to get closer to the goals than you've ever got before. And so for that, I'm really, really pleased for you. Now, if I go to what old wounds may flare and how can I respond with compassion? I think it's important for you to see that if these old wounds I've already suggested might be coming up, is to recognize how open you've been, and how possibly undeserving the people have been for your heart and your faithfulness and your beauty and your joy. I mean, one of the things I love about people with Leo ascendant is just how they put themselves out there, you know, how they perform, how they are playful and creative, and, you know, they make themselves quite vulnerable, you know, because they are sharing what lifts them up. The fifth energy, like this is the fifth sign. It really reminds me of the fifth house. I mean, houses and signs are different, but there is a resonance. The fifth energy is creative, and you know, to create, you have to put yourself out on the ledge a little bit. You have to have so much faith and trust in yourself, and I think the eighth house can be quite a treacherous house, and I think, you know, and you've got the North Node going through the eighth house, showing that there's lessons to be learned about some of the values and expectations and guilts and shames and blames and anger and all these different emotions, these psychological emotions that have been almost installed in place to stop you from pushing beyond, almost to shame you for being as open and as wild and as perfectly beautiful as you are. And so I think you need to have compassion for yourself and to realize that people haven't been playing a fair game with you necessarily. You've given it a lot of heart, and you've been, what's the word? Is it casting pearls before swine? You know, you've been giving the world your good stuff for so long, to a very unappreciative audience. And so I think the unappreciative audience might show up around the time of the total lunar eclipse. And actually, for you to recognize that you have the choice as to, did you hear that? I have a feeling that a kitten has just walked across one of my kitchen worktops and knocked off a pan of food or something, a pan lid. I'm hoping someone in my family goes and investigates that. Anyway, yeah, I think you've given your energy out indiscriminately, and now you're learning an important lesson as to where to put your good stuff and where to retract it from. And it's completely okay to retract it. It doesn't reflect badly on you at all. What it means is you're loving yourself more. You're giving yourself that self-respect that you've expected other people to give you, and they've not been able to. It's something you've got to develop in yourself, really, truly, in your heart. It's self-love. And so that's where the compassion needs to come in, I think, is to just absolutely give yourself the compassion. Because if you don't realize that you've got this beautiful open heart, and you've been in the wrong areas, you know, you've been sharing it with people that can't possibly enjoy it in the right way, you could easily become compulsive and try harder and work harder, and yeah, that's not going to help you. That will drive you insane. So yeah, that's my message. I think it's time to clear the vessel, like clear yourself out of all of the old belief systems that you've held about yourself, you know, and fair play. You might not think you're as good as you are because you've had the other people's judgments in your ear this whole time. you know, historical judgments, you know, you'll never amount to anything. I think we've all experienced that, but bless you, Leo Ascendant, you really have. Clear the vessel, let the cracks appear, and this is something I want to just show you. When the cracks are appearing around this 31st of 1st, that's when the moon is in Sagittarius and it's in your 5th house. So you might find, if you've got children, you might find that your children are acting as the cracks. They're showing you, they're pointing out your vulnerabilities. But it's a time to use your creativity. So as the cracks surface, use your creativity as much as you can, whether it's movement, song, dance, whether you're drawing, painting, cooking, doing something creative. So that as the cracks are appearing, it's like you're in a process of, well, processing. You're moving information through your hands in a creative way. I think the process of creation will help you to shift some of these things, and you might be able to like journal or write about your cracks as they appear, those things that come up that might be a little bit sore. So yeah, hopefully there's been some useful ideas in this. I hope so. I really do. And if you like the way that I do my forecasts, like I try and record them as if I'm talking directly to just one person. I don't consciously do it. I guess that's how I work. You know, I feel like I'm in the room with you, you know. But if you like this kind of guidance and you want more, then consider joining my membership. It's where I share all of my deepest stuff, my regular updates Monday to Friday. Also, love forecasts, money forecasts every 2 weeks as well. Or maybe you'd like to go even deeper with a personal reading. Well, all of the links are below. They're also on my channel page in the description there. And what I invite you to do is invite me to work with you. You can book directly into my diary when it suits you. I'd love to work with you. So, yeah, hopefully that's been helpful. And if you're interested in learning more about Saturn going into Pisces, then just keep watching because that video's up next. Lots of love.